So it is really great to have you guys here. As you come in, people are writing in the chat box what they're thankful for. I'm Allison, and I am partners here with the lovely and talented Ashleigh. And Ashleigh and I are on exact opposite paths, or we were on exact opposite paths as far as our publication journey. Last year, I sold a book entirely on platform and query. And in fact, I did not realize my agent had not read my proposal until we started to work on it. And so I'm a very platform-driven writer. And Ashleigh, what has your journey been?
Yeah, so I left my previous career to write my book, and I did. I wrote it in about 5 months. 8 months later, I signed with an agent who signed me based on the quality of my story alone. She really thought, even though it was memoir, that she was going to be able to sell it traditionally just on the story. We were together for 5 months, and actually that experience of being represented and it going out on submission was not... didn't meet all my expectations. So I ended my contract with her, but in the meantime, I have been working to really build my platform and connect with my ideal reader and get a better idea in my mind from a marketing standpoint, who that ideal reader is and where I can find them. So this process that we are guiding you through and that we are also going through, the two of us, is really helpful in me figuring out my next steps as far as bringing my book into the world.
Yeah, we call this the writer's bridge because we think of a platform as it's a thing that you get up on and yell at people from, whereas a bridge is a route where you are communicating with your readers and your readers are communicating with you. You are reaching to them, they are reaching back to you. And so that's why the word bridge is really important to us. Last meeting, which you can watch in the link that you will get in tomorrow's email, along with the link to tonight's recording. Last meeting, we talked about gaining readers through literary citizenship, the best practices for reposting and quoting on all platforms, and how to repost. And we talked about posting your content where it will reach your readers. And I gave the example of a brevity blog that got 600 or 700 views on brevity, and it got another 1,400 views in a women writers group on Facebook, because that's where they felt comfortable seeing it, commenting on it, interacting with it. Ashleigh gave us a really great tutorial on how to make a reel and talked a little bit about how to get other people who are more famous than you to share and reshare your content. And I think the most important thing we hit on last week was that nobody wants to be your customer. They want to be your friend. And so a lot of the whole building your writer's bridge thing is, while keeping healthy boundaries and protecting your writing time, extending something that feels like and is as genuine as you can be in friendship with the people who are your eventual readers and your literary community. So we always cover a lot, and we always advise you plan to watch the video again, because that way you can watch it at your leisure, back up, hit pause, write stuff down if you need to, try stuff out on your own phone. Today, we are going to talk about content planning and how to always have an idea and never feel like, oh crap, I have to post and I don't know what to post. So Ashleigh, will you tell us, what is content planning?
So content planning can look a bunch of different ways, and we're going to give you some choices here: low tech, high tech. The basic idea is knowing the story, knowing the concepts, the themes that you like to write about, that you like to share about. So we've gone through this exercise in different ways before, really figuring out what our content buckets are. If you have not caught up on previous episodes, all of the links will be in your email tomorrow. This is episode 9. But we're going to go over something that we called the magazine cover challenge, so that we can remind ourselves of the importance. And I was really reminded of this week when 10 draft videos that I made on Instagram were deleted. And I had to go back and say, okay, what should I really make these videos about now that I'm starting from scratch and I don't have any content batched like I hoped I would. So Allison is showing this here.
This is The magazine cover
ahead.
exercise. Ashleigh, just finish that story real quick. What happened when you lost all of your pre-drafted content?
So I jumped into my Instagram stories and I was walking my dog because quite often I check in on my Instagram stories every day when I walk my dog. And when my dog was injured, I just showed the trips to the vet instead of our walk. It's just one of the things that's sort of a touchstone of how I connect with my audience. And I was walking the dog and I said, oh, I tried to really plan ahead and all my videos deleted. Can you guys let me know what you want my next videos to be about? And I put a little question box in there in Instagram stories. And I think it was about 36 people who got back to me. And the things they asked for were more of the same things I've been posting. Things about rehabbing a shabby marriage, keeping monogamy hot, and parenting, which are 3 of my main content buckets. So it was a good reminder because a lot of my drafted material had been different things I wanted to try. It was a reminder that my audience really likes coming to me because they know what to expect and they want more of that.
Yeah. So we did an exercise called the magazine cover exercise. Ashleigh and I did it in a Facebook group, and we also brought it up in a previous episode of the Writer's Bridge. And the idea is to think about if you were a magazine, your career as a writer, your content as a writer, your content as a human being that you would like to share with other people, what would the cover of an issue of your magazine look like? And so these are your content buckets. And so for me, my content buckets are circus. I used to be a circus performer. I still talk about circus. I relate it to writing. Read my Instagram to see how. I give writing tips. The book I have coming out is going to be about writing better and self-editing. I take handstand pictures in weird places. When it is safe to travel, I travel all over the world. I talk a lot about Instagram and I build retreats. And so this gives us a sense of what are we looking at when we are looking at Allison? Do I want to pick up this magazine? Is this a thing I am interested in doing? And the topics kind of intersect. Now, you don't have to make a whole magazine cover, but a lot of people did. And people came up with really interesting things about what's the content that they want to talk about. What do their readers want to look at? And so Stephanie Weaver came up with this great, is this what you think of when you hear chronic illness? Because a lot of what she posts about is dealing with chronic illness and not looking like a person who's dealing with chronic illness. She's got a great series on her Instagram going on right now about having the world's tiniest thyroid cancer, which is also detouring into like the American health insurance system and the challenges that she's navigating with dealing with that. She also does really great cooking videos. And so this is a way, not necessarily to show off your world-class, brilliant design skills, but to give us a sense of who you are and what your work is about. And it's more important. So see, I'm going to show this. And Casey, you know I love you with all my heart. And you and I both know that you are a fantastic writer and perhaps a slightly less fantastic graphic designer, which I say with great love and great respect. But I'm showing this because I want you guys to see the point is not how beautiful a graphic design can I make for my magazine cover. The point is, what would you put if you had limited space to say what you're all about? And so Casey is talking about her literary leanings, 5 memoirs to read right now, resources to make your writing shine, writing as a way of life, life at the intersection of grief and I can't read it because it's light blue on white, but it's grief and something, and it's beautiful. And so think about this as an exercise for yourself to kind of figure out what kind of content am I going to have? And one of the things I want to stress with doing content and rotating through different kinds of content is it not only gives you a great way to know what to post, because if you have this magazine cover, that's 9 or 10 issues of stuff. That's 9 or 10 posts. That's 9 or 10 blogs that you can rotate through with the different topics. But it's also something that makes your content valuable to the reader. So Ashleigh and I were talking the other night, and we were saying that it used to be that we all watched TV and we got a commercial in the middle of the TV show, right? So we had the course of a 30-minute experience, we had probably 30 seconds or a minute, or if the product had bought more than one spot, maybe they had 2 total minutes in the course of the TV show. So hearing about the product was about 1/15th to 1/30th of the total content of the experience of being in this show. And we grew to associate the experience with the product because we felt positively about the experience. Nowadays, with fewer commercials, people do a lot more with product placement. Oh, look, Scarlett Johansson is drinking a Pepsi, and getting it in so that you are enjoying the entertainment rather than being sold the product. And I want to share one more thing with you guys, which is this idea that as we rotate through our content, we also want to make sure that we are sharing work that is valuable to the reader beyond selling them the product. Does everybody see a photo of me looking out over Italy? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So in this, I wrote that I should be in Tuscany right now. I should be looking over this beautiful medieval hilltop. And I kind of describe like the positive experience of being in Tuscany and being at a retreat. And then I write, instead, I'm doing this other thing, hosting a writing and publishing intensive that I've spent a lot of time on. And then at the end, I talk about it's not what I signed up for, but it's what I need to teach me now about trade-offs, about moments of grace and connection in this quarantined world, about how focusing on others' experience is more fun than mourning my own, and how lucky I am that that's even an option. Thanks, universe. What are you building from the wreckage of your hopes? And a lot of people interacted with this. A lot of people wanted to talk about, oh, I planned to do this year, but instead I'm doing that. And you may or may not have noticed, but I also sold 2 separate products in that caption. I mentioned, hey, I do a retreat and this is what it's like and this is the experience that we have. And I mentioned, hey, I'm doing this other thing, I'm doing this online intensive and this is what that experience is going to be like. Nowhere in there did I say, you should sign up for my retreat or click through to link in bio. I talked about the experience so that you got to share the experience with me of what it might be like to spend time with me talking about writing, even though it's a really clearly product-directed post. And we're going to come back to product-directed posts, but I want to chuck it a little bit over to Ashleigh and talk about how do we keep our content ready to use. And Paula had written in and asked, I often take a picture that I think will work well on social media, even if I don't know how I'll use it or when. Now I'm struggling to remember which photos I've used and which I want to use for social media. I also tend to think of things I want to post in bursts, and I'd love to find a tool that would let me enter my ideas, organize them, and develop them over time. Yeah, so tell us, how do you maintain, Ashleigh, an accessible, easy to use repository of your images? And I realize I skipped over the part where we were talking about words, so I'll let you tag me off after you talk about images.
Okay, so first of all, with images, I have a lot of photos. A lot of us do. I have a lot of screenshots of quotes. I have a lot of photos of my children, photos from skating, photos of my kind of writing experience. So when I'm taking photos of my dog or my kids or anything, I will put a heart on them when they are in my camera roll. So we use the word camera roll a lot if we're talking in Writer's Bridge or we're talking in our Facebook groups. That's just your photos in your photo section of your phone, okay? I have them categorized in albums over here. I'm going to show you how I'm going to quickly take all of those things I've categorized before. I took about 10 or 15 minutes the other day and I went through old Facebook status updates that were funny. I use Facebook sort of like how some people, how people who know how to use Twitter, because that's not one of my platforms where I excel. So I'll put something funny about a tomato or making a joke about my husband on Facebook and people will interact with that. So I went and I took screenshots of those funny Facebook status updates, and that's what I'm using for my quote cards in my Instagram feed. If you look at my Instagram feed, I use this format where I have image, quote card, image. And sometimes those images, a lot of the time right now, are short Instagram videos, the reels, because I'm in a place in the world where they are allowing reels. If you are looking right here at this little play button. and they're getting pushed out by the algorithm really quickly. So these down the middle, I am making from Facebook status updates quite often. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how my photos are organized in my camera roll, and also how to save a draft right within Instagram. So without using an outside app, so that you have saved content here for when you want to post. Okay, so right here, I will go to the plus button, top right-hand corner. Actually, I am lying. I'm going to make it within my stories, and then we can add it from there. Okay, so I'm going to, well, and so I could go to the plus button, couldn't I? That's not usually how I add stories, but that's how we could do it. We're going to go there, and then I'm going to go to story. In stories, you can add photos. If you look at the bottom left-hand corner here, that will take me to my camera roll. So I'm going to click there. And then at the very top, it has last 24 hours. I don't want to look in the last 24 hours. I want to look in my albums where I've already saved images. So I'm going to go click on that, and then it gives me these other options. I'm going to scroll quickly because it's really far down. Look, I have a lot of photos. It's down here near the bottom where I have quotes saved. I'm going to click there. Down near the bottom is my template that I have made for quote cards. You'll see that it has this date on it. That's when I made it. I've been using it for that long. You just put your finger on that and slide it, and a garbage can, little trash can appears at the bottom. Okay, so now we have this image. I'm going to click this sticker button at the top with the little smiley face, and now I can overlay another image. Now, this could be an image that was something from me. It could be a quote from somebody else's Twitter. It could be something. Just make sure it has their name on it, so you can give credit to the person who made the quote or who made the tweet or whatever it is. So I'm going to go here again, and now I'm going to scroll to status updates for quote cards. I already cropped them to the right size because you can't crop it very easily once you're in Instagram stories. So I'm going to go here, and this is the status update from April. I haven't forgotten to pick up one of my kids in over 6 weeks, which was a record for me. Now I'm at like 8 months since I've forgotten to pick up a child somewhere. And the caption I'm going to put is "Pandemic is really making me a good mom," because my children aren't going anywhere. So I'm not forgetting to get them. So I could leave it like that, and I could press the arrow right at the top left-hand corner to save it. I'm gonna add one more feature here that is completely optional, but very fun. If I go to, I'm just gonna swipe up from the bottom here, okay? I have an iPhone 11. If you have an older iPhone, you can just press the home button to go to my camera, my photos, and I'm gonna go to GIFs. And I know some of you have seen this. I've made some GIFs of myself with this unscreen.com. It's really easy. We can add the little tutorial video in our follow-up email. And I'm going to pick this GIF at the bottom because she's very excited. Do you see that? And I'm just going to click copy, finger hit it. So I just press
Ashleigh,
on it.
just real quick, as you copy paste this GIF over, do your tweet images need to be resized to a particular size, or are you just pinching and zooming until you go, okay, it's roughly the right size?
Pinching and zooming.
Thanks.
Pinching and zooming. So here we are. She's very excited. This is the clapping happy Ashleigh. Now I'm just going to see the bottom of my body is like lower than the bottom of my quote card. That doesn't matter. That's going to be cut off. I'm going to press this arrow at the top here, which is going to save this to my camera roll. And then I'm going to X out of this because I don't actually want to share this to my story right now. I just went into Instagram stories because it is an easy and powerful way to add a lot of different components to a piece of media, to a piece of content.
You can add text in there. You can add more photos. Like if you keep copy pasting photos from your camera roll, you can add a whole series of photos. And over in the chat, people were asking, how can I make stuff in Instagram stories and save it to the camera roll? And Ashleigh showed you there's that little down arrow at the top of the screen that will save it to your camera roll, and you don't have to post it to Instagram right that minute.
And a lot of times I do that. Anytime you're making an Instagram story, like if you're making soup, or it's a pet, or it's a flower, or you're on your walk, you can just press that arrow and it goes to your camera roll, and then you can add it to the story whenever you want. I'm going to go to the plus button now, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to set this up. I'm going to go to post. Now, this comes up automatically because it's the most recent thing in my camera roll. So this is an easy time to put it in. I'm going to go to next. You'll see my body is already, it's not hanging off the bottom. It's right square at the bottom now. That's fine. Go to next. And then I'm just going to type in a quick caption so that this does save. If you just put a photo in, but you don't put any caption, you're not allowed to save it as a draft. So I'm going to put in pandemic is making me a great mom. And then I'll actually go back and be like, you know, my record is now 8 months, like, you know, breaking records all over the place here.
That said, while she's writing just a short caption for the purposes of this discussion, if you were feeling the groove and you wanted to go ahead and write your whole entire caption, Instagram will keep it for you. And Ashleigh's about to show you how that works.
Yeah, so here we are. I'm going to press this back arrow. If you have written something that you think is going to later, you know, get you like huge accolades like a Pulitzer, copy it, paste it into your notes app, just because it's going to be a little scary pressing this back arrow, because you're going to be like, am I going to lose what I just created? You're not, but it can be a little scary. So I'm going to press the back arrow, and see, then you're going to get an option here, discard or save draft. Save draft. So now when you go into Instagram to post, if your drafts are a little hidden, if you slide down, then your drafts are right there. Okay. And you can click on the draft, or you can go to, I just want that manage to come back up. Okay. I'm going to go here again, just so I can show you where the manage is. So again, I go in here, there's this manage, it's small right over here on the right. And this is the only draft I had, but I can save up to 9 drafts at a time. And then I could click on any one of them and edit them. I could edit the image just a little, like I could resize it or add a filter to it. You're not going to be able to like add another layer of like a GIF or a photo. You're not going to be able to do that kind of editing. But if you want to straighten it or do a little color correction, you can do those things. When you have all 9 of them here, you can then post them in any order. So it is a way to have content right within this app without, I don't use any other planner apps. Allison's going to talk a bit about one or two that she uses that I think are very, very smart. I spend more of my time making these little elements here, like the GIF of myself and getting my old content instead of using another app. So those are the things that I do there. Are there any questions in the chat box, Allison, about this process?
I don't think so far. Does anybody have any more questions they want to ask before we talk about how to keep a handle on your captions and your topics? Okay, so Amy, you're several steps behind. How do I create a quote card and template? We are going to link that in the email. There's actually a really thorough description of how to create a quote card and a template, and I think episode 2, Ashleigh, but it's in the notes. Mary Catherine asks, so then do you share the same content across other platforms like Twitter and Facebook, or are you focusing, Ashleigh, is this purely on Instagram?
I can put it everywhere. When I do a static image on Instagram, it shares automatically to Twitter through if to IFTTT, if this, then that. And if I post something on Facebook, it does the same thing. It goes automatically to Twitter. So you can use it anywhere. I will even use an image like this as a header image for a blog post or for a newsletter. So once you've made this content and you put it on your grid on Instagram, or you just made it in Instagram stories and then you want to put it somewhere else, it works to put it anywhere. And we talked a lot about cross-purposing and cross-posting on another episode, but it is a really good idea when you put any amount of time into creating something to put it more than one place. And your audience members, even if people follow you on more than one platform, it's unlikely that they're going to see it all the places. If they really liked it, they're going to like it on both places. So there really isn't a drawback to cross-posting the same content.
Kirsten asks, did you create this in story or as a regular post? And Kirsten, what happened was she put together all the elements in story and then saved it to her camera and then pulled it from her camera to use as a draft. Mubina asks, how do you save it as a draft? You have to hit the back button and it will say cancel and it will look scary, but it will actually save it in your drafts. It reassures me to copy my captions and paste them into my to-do app if I have to. There is an app called Unscreen that makes those GIFs. And IFT, the program that can automatically cross-post from one platform to another from you, that's IFT.com, IFTTT.com. And I think we talk about it in episode 1 or episode 2.
Allison, as you answer any more questions, I'm going to show one more time how to save it as the draft, because this is there are so many powerful features in Instagram that users don't use very often. And if you do, I mean, there's a lot right here for you. Okay, this was actually a post I did last night because I thought this photo looked like Jim Carrey looking into the camera on the Truman Show. So I'm not going to post this, but I can go here and then next, up at the top, next, and my old post. Okay.
You must have words in your caption for this to work.
Yeah, or else it'll be like, what are you saving? You already have that photo saved in your, like, there's no point to save this. There was nothing changed, you know? So then I'm going to press the arrow. You guys see the arrow back top left-hand corner? And then I'm going to press back again, top left-hand corner. And then I can go discard or save draft. Save draft. Okay, now when I'm here, my drafts don't show, right? They are there. You just need to slide down. The drafts are right at the top there. Okay.
And the value of using this process is that you can write several captions for photos when you're feeling it. If you're feeling like you're in the groove, you don't have to post everything you're writing, but you can take advantage of that time to write. So I end up storing more captions than I store photos. I keep my photos in my camera. I will hit favorite on my photos that I think I want to actually put into Instagram. And I have an automatic to-do that pops up on my list. And about every week or so, I try and delete 40 or 50 photos out of my camera because there's 17,000 photos in there. And a lot of them I'm just never going to use. It can be useful to do like just some regular housekeeping on your camera roll. Now, for me, I end up focusing on a lot about my captions. And I think for me, my captions are actually more important than my pictures. I keep them in my to-do app, and it doesn't matter what to-do app you're using. You could just use the Notes app on your phone. You can use a pad and a piece of paper. I happen to use an app called Things because I keep track of a lot. So as you can see, I have a social media section here on the left where I keep like potential topics for Writer's Bridge. Ashleigh and I also share a Google Doc. You could also use a Google Doc to keep your captions. I keep things that I might want to put on Twitter, and I keep things that I might want to put on Instagram. And so when I have an idea, like, okay, here's this cool quote by Paul Graham about prestige being a powerful magnet that warps your beliefs about what you enjoy. It causes you to work not on what you'd like, but what you'd like to like. And so that's something that I think I would like to write about, you know, but liking the idea of being a novelist is not enough. You have to like the actual work of novel writing if you're going to be good at it. So I think it's a great quote. I save it in my to-do list. My to-do list syncs from my phone to my laptop, and wherever I would like to be, I have an Instagram caption available to me. I also run an Instagram for my retreats. So everything that starts Rebirth is something that I want to cycle through the Rebirth Your Book Instagram, because I have already cycled them through either the Brevity Instagram or the Dubai Literary Salon Instagram, because dear heaven, I am on too many Instagrams. But it helps me just keep track of everything I can think of that might be fun to put on Instagram or that might be fun to write a blog post about. I also keep a massive list of Brevity blogs. I usually write a brevity blog in about an hour, and I usually write it the hour before it is due. It just kind of works out that way. And so as you can see here, though, I have a whole bunch of stuff that is already ready to go. Like I already have a fairly substantial idea about, okay, I'd like to do a post that's social media for writers 101. This is what Instagram is for. This is what stories are for. This is what TikTok is for. I have a post that I want to do sometime about writing hacks, about set your word processing program to auto save every single minute, back stuff up to the cloud, have a repository like this for your ideas. So this lets me stockpile content. And because I am stockpiling content, I have stuff that is on brand for me. On brand. I'm not a writer, I'm a brand. I have stuff that I like to write about and that I know my readers like to read about. And I have it handy so that I'm not sitting around thinking, oh, it's been like a week since I've posted to Instagram, so I guess I need to do something, but what? I have a set of ideas already waiting for me. And the process of writing them down and compiling them helps me remember why I'm writing, what I want to be writing about, and who I'm writing for. Ashleigh, do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah. So when you're talking about your captions, and that's really the weight of your content, like the thoughtful captions. We had a question in the chat about, the advice to keep captions short. And it seems like a lot of writers in our group and in the comment pods have long captions. Like, what is better? It is going to be different for everyone depending on your target reader. And I'm just going to throw in a reminder here that finding your readers is the easiest when you know your comp authors and your comp accounts on social media. And when you spend a little time in the comment section there and see what's resonating with people, was it a short, funny caption? Was it something really thought out, more like a mini essay? And then think of what you like to do the best, because if it's coming from your heart, and we talked about it at the beginning of today, was it Sarah who was at the horse farm? And was it Sarah?
It was Sarah, okay. Sarah Cologne.
Oh, just beautiful, like poetry. And it wasn't a very long caption, but I'm getting some chills on my spine. It really, really pulled us in, and it was a beautiful image. So it's always going to be, is the image pulling in? Are the words pulling in? Or is it something else? Is it humor that's pulling people in? Figure out for you which one you like, and then you can kind of cycle through, because none of us just have like one facet, right? We all have a variety. I will write long essays about how I was miserable in my marriage and wanted a divorce for a decade. And then I'll make a funny joke about my kid pooping on the floor. So, and my audience, because a lot of them are married women, probably with children, can relate to both. So it's going to be unique to you, and you can go back and forth between a few different styles.
I write long ass captions, but I tend to only post about once a week or once every 10 days. I post to my stories a lot more frequently and a lot more casually, but my audience are people who like to hear me drone on about my shit. And so that's who I am catering to. If they don't want to read a super, super long caption, chances are pretty good they're not actually my audience. And I try very hard to not post every single day, because I don't want to wear out people's welcome. I don't want to wear out their ability to pay attention to my stuff. I want them to think, oh, cool, Allison posted again today. I wonder what her little story is this time, rather than, oh God, another massive caption from Allison, which it could easily be if I started to post like 3 or 4 times a week. Ashleigh, anything else that we should say about captions and stuff before we talk a little bit about overall planning of content?
Yeah, I think we have to look at every piece of content. What is it saying? You want to inform, you want to entertain, or you want to support. I mean, the things that we talked about when we're talking about Twitter, you can give the candy or candy, hand, punchline, or punch, right, Allison?
Yeah,
can you
candy is fun and sweet. A hand is something helpful or good information. A punchline is funny, and a punch hits like a punchline, but it's not funny.
So we can do that in the image with a short caption, or you could do it with like a pretty benign image, but the caption really pulls you in. I've been doing a lot of them in 30-second videos. And in the caption, I'll just put hashtags. I don't need a caption because I've already said what I want to say in the 30-second video. So there are a lot of different ways that we can structure our content to be one of those, fit into one of those categories that Allison just outlined, and to elicit an emotional response. Allison and I are both former performers. Okay, circus performer, Allison. I'm a figure skating coach and choreographer. And people like watching those two sports because it makes you feel something. You might feel like a little scared for the performer, or you might feel the emotion that they're portraying. Writers, we get to do the same thing. We get to do the same thing through our words, and social media opens up this huge world where we can do it with an image or a short video, or the way we present a quote of just words. So there's so many opportunities for people who want to share stories to share it in a way that is unique and that will connect with people.
Carol mentions that she's been told to post more times, like at least 3 times a week, so people become familiar with your brand. One of the challenges for us as writers is that a lot of the platform advice out there is advice for influencers and Instagrammers and people who have a specific tangible product to sell, whether that is tangible, like it is a coaching class and you can buy it once, or whether that is, oh, hey, I have this great shampoo with my brand name on it and you should buy my shampoo. For writers, it is a little bit different. We are not as likely to churn through followers the way you get people who follow you and then they unfollow right away because they were just following to see if you'd follow them back. Writers don't do that as much to each other. Writers tend to follow each other because we're genuinely interested in the community. We read people's blogs because we genuinely want to hear their words. And so while yes, it is good to get your words out there and share them with the world, and it's nice to do that with some regularity so that people don't forget you exist and they remember how much they like you and enjoy your writing, you don't have to do it on the same kind of schedule that someone who is trying to be an influencer or a style guide or something like that. So yeah. There are more questions that we will come back to because we do want to get to the point about actually planning out content. And so Debbie asked, I'd love to hear more about your process for planning your social media posts, not the apps you use to plan, but the big picture thinking of the content of the posts. How far out do you plan? And are those planned posts interspersed with off-the-cuff posts? So there's a couple of ways you can do this, and we're going to give you guys a free downloadable content planner that will come in the links to the episode tomorrow. Does everybody see a PDF document with grid planner on it? It's like this mean yes? Awesome. Thanks, guys. So I like to think about different types of posts as well as different content. And I've kind of color coded it here and you'll get this example. So I write posts that are behind the scene posts, posts that are education, inspiration, posts that ask a question, posts that are restful or fun, product that is my retreats, product that is the book that I have forthcoming in March, and lifestyle stuff. This is who I am. This is what I do. My content buckets are writing advice and teaching, writing process, platform for writers, the writer's bridge. And my interests are circus, travel, Buddhism, mindfulness, and the part of my personal life that is public. So each of these posts is a genre of post that covers one or more of my topics. And so my behind the scenes post last week was teaching, and it was about the process of teaching at the prison here in Dubai and how prison smelled like basil of all things, because that's what they were growing in the prison garden in the middle of the compound. I posted an education post, which was a video of writing advice, 3 things that don't belong in your query letter. And my 2 product posts, I showed you guys the travel product one that was, wishing I'm at my retreat in Italy and describing my 2 retreats. And I also did one where I talked about reformatting your own book makes you edit your book differently. I had reformatted my book so that I would have a couple of chapters to send to a literary festival. And the process of making it look like a real book made me see, oh crap, I was really wordy here, and this exercise doesn't belong here, it belongs over there. And so I gave genuinely useful, helpful, valuable advice. And I know it to be valuable because something like 36 people bookmarked it to save and read again, which is high for me in terms of bookmarks. And it plugged my book because it was a picture of my book. And I talked about what the content of my book was, but it wasn't buy my book, link in bio. It was, let me give you something genuinely valuable that pertains to the topic of my book that perhaps one day you will like to know more about. And it's kind of like being an ice cream store. You want to be the person who is giving away the free samples so that people know how delicious and yummy everything you have to say is.
And can I pause you? Can I pause you right there, Allison, just so everybody can really just sink into that for a minute, because Allison has done two brilliant things to highlight her products that she wants to sell. Not just kind of wants to sell, but like she wants to fill her intensives. She wants to fill her retreat next time she's able to travel and take a group of writers to Tuscany. She wants mad sales on her upcoming book, which is going to be fabulous. Okay, but she did not seem salesy or she did not come off as salesy there. She really gave away value. She really took people into the process. That's part of the one where she talked about laying out her book and seeing ways to edit it. Her book is about self-editing, okay? So there's so many layers of brilliance in the way she put this together. And this is why people saved it. And this is why the people who saved it are going to be like waiting for that day pre-orders open for Allison's book because they want it, okay? Are you going to open that post right up, Allison? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yes, perfect. Yeah. Thank you for that.
So you can see it's a picture of a layout from my book, and it's, let me tell you the startling, powerful thing that happened when I formatted my manuscript. And I explain, why did I do this? I'm not a fancy book designer. I just changed the page size and fonts. As I worked, I saw an exercise belonged in a different chapter. Oh, and those two concepts should be combined. Hey, this intro is awfully wordy. And what was I thinking, picking a controversial author for examples? And I talk about what did reformatting give me? And I talk about, plus, it was fun seeing how my book might look. The publisher will design, of course, but maybe they'll be inspired by my ideas. Reinvigorated the work. The reader's experience is closer. If your draft isn't telling you what it needs, go into format, document, layout, page setup, and do trade paperback size. I used 6x9. So you notice I'm giving a really specific exercise that the reader can take this away and try it with their book. And hopefully the lesson the reader learns is, number one, how to make their book better. And number two, Allison gives decent advice about making your book better, which is the big takeaway I want them to have.
And Allison is damn funny. And she's showing the vulnerability of like, what the hell was I thinking writing this book? Like writing this section this way, or, using this or that. She's like bringing in things that, okay, she's going to change now. Showing that kind of vulnerability any place we can. I do that a lot of times in my stories when I'm cutting my hair and I like make a mistake and I'm like, okay, I'll just cover that. It's like showing up on social media as a real person instead of having it be scripted and overly curated is what makes writers more interesting than influencers. And this is one of the reasons that I want to enable writers to just take over social media, because it's going to be a far better place for all of us to hang out.
I just want to walk you guys through the rest of the grid planner that you're going to get to download. So you have 3 versions of this grid planner. You have the one that is the sample, where you can actually click over to my Instagram and look at these posts in action, read the captions, see how it carries out my content buckets and the type of posts I like to write. And then you also have a grid planner where you can fill in your topics and interests, and where you can think about what would be behind the scenes of what you do, like Stephanie's cooking videos. What is educational? Like Maris has this beautiful website that talks all about marriage and family and womanliness. What would be the questions that you would ask for people? And if you're a long caption writer like me, what's a mini essay? Then you can plan out, okay, what am I going to put in there for a genre and which of my topics fit in there? I also have a completely blank one for people who like to color. So you can decide what are your own genres of posts? What kind of posts do you like to share? So like Terry's a pastor and she's also a university chaplain and she's also working in prisons and she's also writing a book. And so right there, that's 4 types of posts that Terry could rotate through. She could write about what it was like teaching in the prison, you know, as much as she can share with that situation. She could write about what it's like being a pastor or a pastoral message that's important for her to get to her readers. And this lets her plan through what kind of stuff do you want to rotate through. And then just as a side note, the last thing you'll get in this handout is you're going to get a giant planner for 30 days of Instagram. Sorry, let me scroll there. And you don't have to do these as 30 days in a row. In fact, please don't, because it will just be stressful and tedious and make you feel obligated. Because remember, you do not work for social media. Social media works for you. But these are things that if you love Instagram, do them on Instagram. If you don't love Instagram, maybe you can tweet about it. Maybe you can write a blog about it. Maybe it's even something that you want to write an essay about or explore something in your memoir and write another scene that is triggered by one of these. These are a way to use as a prompt. All of the things labeled as hashtags are actual hashtags, and I have checked them all so that they are about the right number for hashtags. If you don't remember the discussion where we talked about hashtag numbers, don't sweat it for right now. Just know that these are useful hashtags that you may want to actually put on your posts. And I will say too, that with all of this grid planning, I tend to fill out a really nice grid in the content planning app that I use. And then I'm like, screw it. This is what I feel like posting today. And it doesn't look crappy. So I'm going to go with it. It feels good to have that backup of content that is ready. It feels even better to be genuine and spontaneous about what I want to write that day and being in touch with my categories and my content buckets and the kind of stuff I like to write and that my readers like to read is what really keeps me going. Ashleigh, what do you want to add in there before we go into breakout time for a moment?
I'm going to show you guys here the content planner I did in my bullet journal. Okay, so this is a monthly planner. I think this was for like beginning of September. And I started putting in things that were happening based on the time of year, like back to school. And I thought, oh, I could write a post about how this year back to school is different than last year back to school. I was getting a new closet installed, a custom closet. I knew, okay, you know what, I can take some pretty photos of the closet before and after. I started doing a Sunday stack where every Sunday I would show the jewelry I was wearing and my hand was over top of a stack of books. And then I would show a close-up of the stack of books I was reading. And that's when I found my audience really likes jewelry more than books. So that's going to be helpful to me when I'm marketing my own book going forward, that, okay, you know what, a lot of the people who follow me are not voracious readers, but they are interested in the things that I share. So these are some of the things. And then down here, I just wrote like ideas and okay, this thing happens weekly. This thing happens monthly. I do rituals with my kids for the new moon and full moon. Okay. So that's every 2 weeks. I would have something about that I could share. So just, this was really helpful for me to think of, oh, wow, I do have a lot more ideas that are easy to repeat and, you know, reuse, repurpose than I thought. I didn't do a lot of these ideas, but I carried some of them over and they just gave me a really good idea for things going on in my life that would be easy to, you know, get a picture of the kids doing virtual school the first day or anything like that. That would be really helpful.
So we're going to send you guys into some breakout rooms. And this is something that we do every week. And for those of you who are new, I want to let you know that the first time people do it, there is always a sense of, oh crap, I have to talk to strangers for like 6 whole minutes. I am so not down for this. but everyone usually does come out of it feeling very happy that they have actually done it. And it's nice to just take that moment, especially during this time when we can't see our friends in real life, and connect with our other writers. So we're going to send you into some breakout rooms. You'll be there for about 6 minutes. Just check in, say hi, say what you're thankful for this Thanksgiving. Tell them what you write.
Okay. Yeah. And if you want to chat,
feel free.
Yeah, we like chatting backstage at the breakout room here.
Well, I have a question for you. What is in your experience, been your best way? I had posted something last night, tried to keep it public and not too private. And my mother chimed in with a personal question. And
Ashleigh, I'm going to leave that with you and I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, Linda. Now, was the personal, okay, there are a couple options here. You can click on your mom's profile and actually restrict her. And then that means you are the only one who's going to be able to see her comments, and your mom will have no idea that the comments are only visible to you. So that is one option. I actually blocked my own mother on my Instagram stories because it was interesting. We text and we talk on Facebook Messenger, but it would be in my Instagram stories replying that she would make comments about the content I was posting and how she thought it was going to be terribly embarrassing to my children. And I just ended up just blocking her from my stories so she can't see them. So when she goes to my profile, it looks like I didn't post a story. So there are a couple options. There. The restrict thing is a really good thing if the person's actually close to you, but is just a little annoying or asking something that you're like, wait, mom, that's not something the whole world should be reading. That can help.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. But for me, right, the nature of my memoir is risque. It's taboo. The real taboo is actually how I felt being a wife and a mother in this world. But I've let my family know that I'm sharing these things, and I'm not asking their permission. And if they don't give support, my husband is good with me sharing about our marriage. Our children are young, but I do not share personal things about them. And we have an understanding in our family that like there are a lot of different choices in families and choices in relationships about how people decide to interact with each other. So I'm not worried about them. But you know, my mother-in-law, my mom, you know, they're both blocked from my stories. So I don't have to be worried that something that I share in an off-guard moment there is going to be something that triggers them. So we all have to, you know, decide what we're comfortable with the people we're going to see in real life.
I assume that, sorry, go ahead, Linda.
No, that's okay. I just said thank you.
I assume that anything I write, eventually my mom's going to see it. And fortunately, my husband has no social media and no desire to be on social media and is really not even that much of a reader. Like when I moved in, there were 7 books in the house and they were all Game of Thrones. So I said to him actually at one point when I was still working on shopping a memoir, I'm like, hey, you know, so there's some stuff in the memoir that's pretty explicit. And he said, there are a lot of books in the world and that's probably one I won't be reading. You know, and that's the understanding we've reached. And I think too, people also worry about like bothering or angering their families. And I would say with that, the magic phrase is, wow, I can see how you would feel that way. Let me know when you write a book about it.
Okay, perfect.
You know, the person who tells the story gets to tell the story the way they want to tell it. Or as my dad used to say, when my dad used to own a pawn shop, and when I worked in there when I was about 11 or 12 years old, he showed me where the gun was because this was an American pawn shop. So there's a gun under the counter. And he says, if anybody comes in here to rob the store, you give them whatever they want. Ring trays, cash out of the safe, just hand it over. Then when they turn to run out, you shoot them in the back and you shoot to kill because there's only one person left alive to tell the story.
Oh my God.
And that's my dad. He's dead now.
There's only one person alive to tell that story now, Allison, and that's you.
Yeah. I told it at his funeral, actually. So yeah, whoever's left alive gets to tell the story, and we can extrapolate that to whoever takes the time to process their feelings and write it all down and put it together, that person gets to tell the story. You have a right to tell your own story. If somebody else disagrees, they can tell their own story. You're not stopping them. So we are near the end of our meeting, and we do always like to end on time. We want to let you guys know that there will be another meeting in 2 weeks. And next meeting, we are going to focus on platform that is not social media. What else builds a writing platform that is not Twitter, not Facebook, not Instagram? And how does that stuff integrate with your social media? And how is it independent of your social media? And so that's what we're going to talk about then. I want to briefly deliver a product pitch to you, which is that I am co-leading with Dinty W. Moore a memoir intensive in January. It's a virtual 5-day event. Information at rebirthyourbook.com, and we'll also put a link in the email. There's 14 slots left. They're going pretty fast, so let me know if you think you might want to come or check it out or check the link. Ashleigh, what else should we wrap up with?
You know what? I'm just thankful for all of you who showed up live on this holiday week, if you're in the US, and wherever you are, that you're taking the time, because Allison and I are both used to coaching groups. So I always watch it on gallery view so I can see your faces and see people nodding or taking notes. That really helps me. I also understand that some people, can't jump in live very often and have to do the replay, and that is fine. But I just really love being here with this group every 2 weeks. It really feeds me so much.
It totally does. So we're going to unmute you guys so that we can have our traditional raucous goodbye. Thank you so much for honoring us with your time and your attention. You guys are amazing. So bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. One just ran out naked, so I've got to go figure it out.
So immature, Kima.
Bye.
What's the baby's name?
Madeline.
Hi, Madeline.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. Yeah. Hooray. Now I'm just screwing with you.